TACT, the anatomically correct trim, TEAM, T-E-A-M. And that is teaching, education, accountability, and mentoring. See, what I'm hoping is to build all of us here into that kind of a team. And to where if you want to, you can get to the place where you can present and teach others. First thing we're going to do, we're just going to go through the basic anatomy of the hoof. What we're going to do today, we're going to go through the basic anatomy of the hoof. We're going to go through hoof structure again in case there's somebody on here that doesn't know it. Okay, so yeah, you might have to hear a repeat of a lot of stuff I've said. But the thing about it is, the more you repeat it, the simpler it gets, and you can condense it. We're just going to go into I'm going to show you what I know about this foot here. All right, so first we're going to name the parts that we deal with that we can see. But what we are doing, we're not trimming to the seen. We are trimming to the unseen. See, you want to get so that you want to get a picture of the internal foot. As I've said before, in farriery and even in barefoot trimming, a lot of times, they're not looking at the whole foot. They're just looking at parts. See, a coffin bone in a capsule, and then they got the parts there. They're not seeing this as a whole foot covered with skin, and it is one, maybe many parts, but it is one piece. So what you want to do is you want to get an image of this internal foot, and really it's relatively simple. You've got your sole corium here, you've got, your heel back here, your coronary band, but it's one chunk, one piece that has to fit a certain specific way. And it is just like a can in a koozie, one of them holders, except it's a little more intricate in that it's got a little bit different shape. And you have to understand how this hoof capsule grows and how it's supposed to be attached to the inner foot. And that way, when it's distorted, you will be able to recognize it. Like this foot here, this foot has some distortion. Her heels were completely trimmed out. This is my mare Molly. Her heels were completely trimmed out. Now, when you trim the heels out, it causes the hairline to come down like this, so that your horn tubules that should be growing like this are growing forward. Okay, but another thing it does, it arches the wall. When you trim this out, it pulls all this down, and it'll put an arch right here in the wall and an arch under here. This is not hoof wall jamming. Okay, this is a bent capsule. See how it's bent? You can see how it's bent. That is from it trimming. That is from ultimately trimming the heels out. Now, I was in the process of restoring the heels when she died. Okay, so this is why a lot of times you go to rasp your foot here and you cannot get a clean white line over here. Okay, that's because the hoof capsule is bent like that. You see that? The foot itself does not really have an arch. See it? Do you see an arch there? No, you don't. Now, on this foot here, right here is the coronary band that the hoof wall grows from. Okay, it is still bent down just a little. On a really good foot, this coronary band is not going to be bent down. It's going to be straighter like so, and then wrap around the back of the foot. Okay, so I want to get back to explaining the parts. All right, so here's your sole. Right in here, the sole connects to the wall. Right here, in between that is called your white line, which is never white. It's always off-white or yellow. Okay, so there's your hoof wall. White line is where your sole and your wall connect. Okay, your hoof wall comes around this way till it gets right here to where you have what is called a triangular pillar called the heel buttress wall. The heel buttress wall connects right here to your heel. Here, I want you to look at that. It grows right here. It is triangular and it is a pillar. I call it a pillar, and it has to be about that long. It has to be the length of the heel. Look here. It has to be from here to here. That is the just covers the foot. So you have to have about that much more in order to have any sole, because your sole grows from here, you see. Okay, so I want you to look at this. Now, here's where the periopal flap ends right here. If I was to cut my heel to right there, I would have no sole hardly at all in the back of this heel. Okay, and this is the big controversy that's being taught by Strasser and many others, that you measure from here to here 1 1/8 inch, and then you cut your heel right there. And what that does is that pulls this whole hoof wall down here to a 30-degree hairline, like so. All right, so now it comes around here to your heel buttress. Now, what I do a lot of times, I am researching hooves. I look up words, like I look up the word buttress. A buttress is a support that is used on buildings. Where you really see them are on the cathedrals, the big, huge cathedrals over in Europe. They use buttresses to hold up the walls. Okay? That's the reason why whoever was first looking at this in English, or maybe it was German or something, and they were naming the parts. So you got your buttress, and that turns right here into your bar. Your bar ends right about here, but because the whole hoof wall grows forward, the bar wall, by the time it's done, ends a little forward of that, right about here. So here's your bar, here's your buttress, here's your wall. White line is where the wall and the sole are joined together. Remember, they're dovetailed like this. The wall, here's the wall, slides down the lamina and out like that. The wall slides through the white line of the sole like this. Okay, now here is what is called your frog. Now, everything on here has a boundary. And when we have hoof distortion is when one thing overgrows in a certain place and grows over its boundary. Okay, so all of these things are to form fit this inner foot right here. Okay, you see how the frog, this is the frog corium. It goes right over to here. Okay, you see how there's a boundary there? See, I don't let the frog totally fill up and completely fill in the collateral grooves. Because what happens is then it'll push your heel over. Okay, I try and keep a boundary, even on the frog, because I found out when I was just letting the sides of the frog go, that it would fill this up in here and then it'd press into the bar and push the whole thing over. So you want to be aware of that. The central sulcus right here, see that? Okay, you want to make sure that you trim your bars, that you don't let them get petrified. There are some of you, I've been looking at the frog. You've got to keep a central sulcus here that is shaped similar to what you have here, and you have to keep it cleaned out. You can't let it grow and get impacted. You have to keep refreshing this frog so that it will keep growing, because I'm going to tell you something I found out. This foot Okay, the coronary band from which the hoof wall grows, right here, and the sole is like grass. You know how when if you take something and you put it over grass and the grass dies out? That is just what happens to this foot. Like, part of this trim is that you have to find the apex of the frog. There's what's called the apex, and then there's what's called the true apex. Okay, so here's your frog corium or dermis. This is skin. That's all that is. It's a type of skin. So your frog grows from that. Well, the apex here has a boundary. I'll let you look. Now, her sole was pretty thin. You know why? Because her heels were not finished growing, being corrected yet. All right, so she had very thin sole. The more correct your heels are, the better the sole in the whole foot. This is the apex of your frog, and back here is the base, and we base a lot of this trim on being able to find, define, and maintain where the true apex of the frog is. All right, so the frog has boundaries, the bar has boundaries, this wall has boundaries. Right here is where your hairline will be. This soft stuff here that you find in a lot of times it's very hard is the periopal. And what happens is when the hoof wall grows down, it like emits a sheet of this stuff that covers the hoof. And this stuff is kind of similar to clear nail polish. And what it does is, what the periopal does is it controls the moisture content of the hoof. It keeps moisture out and it keeps moisture in. All right. That's why you don't want to go taking it off like you see a lot of them do. You know, they'll take now I've seen they got belt sanders coming up there. Boy, they think they're really doing something. You know, well, they're taking off what nature has put on here to control the moisture content of the hoof. Your periopal skin right here is also the same type of skin that's right here and covering your bulb. Right there. It's all the same. Right up into here. Sometimes you'll see them real thick. Now, I want you to see something here. Right here, there was a hole here. It looked like a BB hole. Not that you got shot with a BB, but that's what size it was. It damaged the periopal right here. And the periopal emitted this stuff, rubbery stuff that is periopal, like a serum, and it dried on there. See, I'll have to show you some pictures of that. Okay. That's why, well, and you can see that, well, I don't know if you can see on there, but this, see the shine to the hoof? That's the periopal. And it's a very thin coating, but it's one of the hardest substances. It really protects your hoof. Let's see here. Now, the hoof wall grows down. Here's your coronary band. Okay. And the hoof wall horn tubules are produced here and connect into these lamina, dovetail into these lamina like this, but way more intricate and way stronger. It starts here. There's little papules that feed little tubes right here. And they come down here and they connect to a specific piece of lamina and they grow down right to here where it connects with the sole. And then the sole and the wall, which become married at that point, okay, they grow down together. And I was thinking today, you know, what bears the weight? Does the sole bear the weight? Does the wall bear the weight? Well, you know what? When they join up together here and they grow down to the ground, they both bear weight, but they bear it a little differently because they are different. One is harder and stronger than the other, and the other is softer. But without the soul support, the wall goes backwards. Oh gosh, boy, I'm really thinking of some analogies here. Okay, think about it. The wall is hard and strong, you know, and he grows down here and then he marries up with the soul. Okay, and she is supported by him and he is supported by her, and they each have their different functions, but they each need each other. See, it's just like a marriage. See what I'm saying? Okay, so here's the thing. When the wall that starts here and grows down to here and marries up with the soul here and they grow to the ground, from birth, that piece of wall needs to start here and come down here and end here. Do you see that? But what happens is, when the heels grow long or get trimmed out and it changes the angle of the wall, okay, so you can see it right side up. Okay, again, now I repeat things a lot of times because I want you to get it. Okay, so you got your little paps here that run along here, and they connect to horn tubules, and they connect to a specific piece of lamina right here. And they all travel and grow down together till they get down here where they marry up before they get to the bottom of the foot. They marry up right up here. See your soul corium. Your soul corium, as I've showed in other videos and in illustrations, is not just on the bottom of the foot. Your soul corium actually starts right. They all come down, they marry up right here, and then they grow to the ground together, and this is the way they are for life. This is their position for life. This is their angle for life, or it should be. And then your soul, she can come to her optimum thickness and strength because she is retained, supported, and upheld by the strong wall. Same with him. He's gonna continue to be strong and go forward as long as she is supporting him. Okay, once that soul is not supporting the wall, he backslides. he goes backward. You see, now is the wall more important than the soul? Heck no. She's just as important, but is she more important than the wall? No. They each have their function, okay? And they each have their own way of support. You know, it is not good for the wall to be alone. All right. I'm having fun. Okay. I will make a soul for him. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, and then, of course, behind them both, you have a pillar that supports both of them. Without this pillar, okay, supporting them both, they are all over the place. Okay, I can show you pictures of my horse's feet, and I can see it in a lot of your horses too, where when the heels are trimmed out and there is no strong support, you have this pillar here, and it is supporting the bar wall, the wall, and it is supporting the soul, all of it. And when all of that is combined, you have this tremendous stability here. Yeah, soulmate. And when you don't have that pillar right here supporting the whole thing, the soul and the wall are all over the place. The soul can't grow to her optimum thickness because the wall is very unstable. Okay? in a little while, I'll show you a picture of a very unstable wall. So this wall, ultimately, it is a supporting wall in sharing weight with the sole when the sole is right. Okay, and when the wall is right. On your wall, okay, now remember, it starts here. This piece starts here, goes to here, and they travel down right there. Same with this, and this. These are all individuals in a community. They all affect one another. Okay, if this piece here grows too high and gets too weighted, it's going to collapse forward, and it's going to boom, 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 boom. It's going to affect everything in front of it. Also, whatever's behind it, it's going to pull like that. So each one of these has to be in their place for everything to work perfectly. They work together, but yet they are all also kind of independent. Now, let's see. Besides having your horn tubules, see, I want to tell you about the hoof wall grid. These horn tubules that grow down from here and grow like this, they are vertical, and you can read them. All right, let's look. Okay, now her foot is a good foot to use to demonstrate this because of the pigmentation, the striping of the horn tubules there. See that? Now you can see it too in person on the white here, how they all go down like this. Okay. So you need to learn to read these. We're going to talk about the angle of the hoof wall. Okay. The foot setting flat here would show the basic angle those horn tubules should be. And so that includes what the angle of the toe should be. They should be relatively the same going all the way back. The pigmentation, not just the pigmented, but the unpigmented wall is the angle of the horn tubules. Let's look at this. Let's look at some capsules here real quick. Now this horse here, he never had his feet trimmed, lived out here on Kansas sod. All right. And so the heel, instead of being at this angle, it collapsed forward. Okay. And so his sole was very thin, because what happens is now all of these are going like this, but the foot, that's not the way the foot is. Okay. The foot it should be like this, the inner foot. You know, this foot determines how this should be. And if it's not, all horses' inner feet are the same. Just like your foot is the same as my foot. Now, there are differences in sizes, you know. You might have a little difference here and there, but anatomically, all horses' feet are the same. Now, again, there is some difference, but it's all the same. Okay, so the hoof capsule has to fit a certain way, or you have hoof distortion. Let me look at that. See, this hoof capsule would have been damaging the foot, and this hoof could get laminitis pretty easy too, mechanical. You know, that could easily be pulled off that horse's foot, the hoof capsule. And it actually came off really easy too. But Molly's here, virtually impossible for me to get that thing off. See how nice and tight and upright and everything is? Okay, but this horse's hoof capsule came off pretty easy. I got a video on YouTube of me just pulling it off after soaking it a couple days. I soaked this a couple days and could not get that off hardly at all. I had to cut it off in pieces. Okay, so this is not what we want. Okay, now you can actually make this kind of thing happen too by trimming the heel out. It's going to change if you change the angle of the hairline here by cutting the heel out, it changes the whole weight-bearing equilibrium between this hoof capsule and this inner foot. See, and that's what we want to learn to maintain. We want to trim in such a way that we're going to bring this whole hoof capsule into alignment with what this inner foot is. Because when you have problems is when people over trim the heels. I mean, you could also leave too much heel, and that's going to create problems too. All right. But we want to totally restore the weight-bearing equilibrium of the hoof capsule to the inner foot. I mean, you can see how this thing, you know, can affect this foot. See, they're both supposed to be in alignment, and if you change the alignment of this, it's going to damage and hurt all this. Now, look at how thin that thing is that you are dealing with. You know, so it's got to have a certain perfection about it in the way it fits, in everything. Okay, now, here's another thing. That is not your foot. Okay? We have been taught to look at that. Okay? This is your foot. All of this up into here, clear up into here, clear back up into here. This is the foot. Okay? Same thing with your toe and your toenail. It's more than just your toe, where I only want what's under my toenail, right? No. All this cartilage up here is the foot. The foot. This is part of the foot. Okay? Just because there's not hoof capsule on it does not mean it's not part of the foot. And so you have to get this in your mind, okay, that all of this up here, and you should palpate this on your horse, go out there and feel it, okay? All of this up here is part of the overall foot of the horse, okay? The difference is this is covered with hoof wall skin, and this is covered with hair hide skin, okay? Now, the reason this is important is because, let me find something here. Except for this, all the rest of this is soft material. Softer material is cartilage or digital cushion, which is fatty. And so all of this can be manipulated and moved around. They can be shoved up. They can be pulled down. They can be contracted, and they can be shoved out like this, because this whole part of the foot from my thumbs back is cartilage and digital cushion, fatty stuff. Right here is about where the coffin bone ends. Let's say right in there. Now, I have some pictures of where I was able to totally bend this down and under because I put the foot in the oven and it softened all the cartilage. And so you can see how you could bend it really easy. And so it's not that it bends that easy, but with a 1,200-pound horse attached to it, and when you trim this capsule wrong and you change the whole weight-bearing equilibrium, you can just start bending all this down and shoving it in. You know, I've shown some pictures where the hoof wall was trimmed out to here, and all this cartilage was pulled forward and under into the foot. See, that includes the frog corium here. Okay, something that happens is if all of this is pulled forward, then this frog corium gets wider. Your bars get shorter you develop a false heel. You know, you can trim the heel out clear up to here so that you got a false heel and a stupid looking little foot. Now I want to show you about the digital cushion. Okay, I had somebody comment that this bone, this is, okay, you got your coffin bone in there. This bone right here is P2, the short pastern bone. Okay, the short pastern bone. Now I want to show you something, how it moves. Now the coffin bone is side, it's not moving. It's just, I don't have the navicular bone on there, but it's just barely going like this, see? When I'm doing that, this is what you're seeing, okay? Okay, but it's made in such a way, here's your digital cushion. This is fat, like fatty cartilage. Okay, we've all eaten beef. And have you ever got a piece of cartilage fat that you could not chew up? I mean, your teeth just bounce off of it. You know, finally you go, yuck, you know, and spit that thing out. Like you have a nice roast or something, and there's this weird piece of stuff that looks like it might be good. And so you chew on it, and really your teeth bounce off of it. It's not even like that cartilage on the end of the chicken bone, which is my favorite part of the chicken, of the chicken breast. It's different. That's this kind of cartilage here. Okay. The collateral cartilage is here. Okay. They are thin and they surround this part of the foot, and the rest here is filled up with digital cushion. Okay. This stuff you would never, ever be able to chew up. Gristle. So what happens is when the horse is moving. Okay, see these? This is so cool. See how they pull apart like that? This is why I say you have to pay attention to this part of the foot, okay? Because I'm going to show you how it distorts, how when the heels are pulled out, it's pulled down and it changes the shape and it just gets pulled way down. You can see it in x-rays. Okay, so when the horse goes, see how those spread apart? Now, the interesting thing here, that's the tendon right here, is that there is no way this bone will stay down because of that digital cushion and fat right there. Just wants to bounce it back up. See there? I got to really squeeze. So see, that's part of this suspension system that cushions the whole leg and the foot and everything like that. The horse never really, except when he's standing, bears his whole weight on his foot. This all is a suspension system. You know, his foot is moving before he ever bottoms out there. Underneath the coronary band, it's cartilage. And cartilage back into here, cartilage into here. All this is cartilage. Okay, but it's also covered by your coronary band and your lamina and your sole corium. There, it's covered with skin. So consequently, I noticed somebody, I can't remember who, that joined up for this and posted pictures on the forum that they had a horse with a huge lump right here. And what I'm concerned about is that is what's called side. I think it's called side bone. But what happens is on some horses, this cartilage, now this is connected to the coffin bone right in here. This cartilage is connected into this coffin bone here. This is bone, but what happens is side bone, the cartilage will turn into bone. It will ossify and it will turn into bone. And I think the reason for that is hoof wall jamming. You know, when the hoof wall gets jammed clear up, look at how that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be free. See there? But when the hoof wall pushes the coronary band and everything clear up into here, well, then what's happening? That thing's being held like that, and there's no give in it. See, it's supposed to, see how it spreads out when you do this? Naturally spreads. These things open up like so. Okay, for the pastern bone to descend down this way. All right, so when your hoof wall jams up, clear up into here, so that it's like this, then this can't spread apart like it should. See what I'm saying? So I think this banging on it here, or, you know, the pressure it puts on this cartilage is what turns it into bone, side bone, ring bone. I'm not sure what ring bone is, but I know that's side bone. The ossification of the collateral cartilages, turning into bone. That's very painful for the horse. About intertubular horn. Okay, that is the horn that is between all the horn tubules. You got your vertical horn tubules here, okay, that you can read. Remember, they need to be a certain angle. And here's the thing, too, I forgot to tell you. Once they get bent, this piece of wall here can grow up to here. Okay, do you see how that would change the whole weight-bearing equilibrium? My toe could be the same kind of here, but depending on how the horse was trimmed and the distortions, this piece of wall could grow clear up to here. Rufus just asked a question. Does the ossification resolve with TACT? No. Once that turns into bone, it's going to be bone for the rest of that horse's life. But what an anatomically correct trim will do is hopefully prevent that from happening. Remember that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Okay. Primarily what TACT is hopefully restoring as much as possible to the foot of the horse. And also, once knowledge is gained and this gets around, then people prevent this kind of stuff. But it is soft. Well, maybe it's from an old injury then, you know. Okay, so somebody asked me the other night when we were doing the check-in class for this, I was seeing how this was going to work, if I was going to evaluate the hooves. Well, what I'm going to have you do is evaluate, after you learn this, evaluate your own hooves, and then I will help you. Okay, well, Debbie, your horse could, you know, that could just be a scar. It might not be that. Let's hope not. Okay, because Molly here, she had one foot with a big scar, kind of like that too. All right, so this is what you're going to look for. You're going to look for to see where does this wall start and where does it end. You want it to start here and end about there. If you see your wall is starting here but ending up here, you have a problem. Now, I can show you pictures where I corrected a lot of that, and you can see how the wall on my horse started coming back. But look, as it comes back, it's longer, isn't it? See there? Again, let me do that. Here you go. Here's where the wall should be. But somehow, through different kinds of trimming and this and that and the other, the wall got bent forward, and now it's growing clear to the toe. Now, I want you to think about that. Look at this. This piece of wall here. Okay? Okay, it bears weight right here. Understand? Just like this. This is where it bears weight. Starting up here, down to here. See where it would bear weight? On the foot, the hoof capsule in coordination with the foot. Okay, if something happens and this piece of wall, and look, it's a certain length too, right? It's only a certain length. All right, now if something happens, where this hoof wall all gets pulled down and is growing this way, this piece of wall that should only be this long, okay, winds up being this long. Okay, and look, how is that? What is happening with the weight bearing of the wall when that happens? This is pushing up this way, and as it pushes up this way, what happens? It pushes down this way. See there? See how it would change the weight bearing equilibrium for this piece of hoof wall here? Let's see, let's do it like this. This piece of hoof wall that is right here, okay, to start growing like this and wind up, clear up at the pillar. What is going on with the weight bearing of the capsule when this happens? Okay, does everybody understand that? But when you do this tack trim, you can start to correct that, where this starts coming back. Now, as it's coming back, look, let's say it's grown to there. Okay, let's say it's grown to here, that piece of wall. Okay, look at, when I just pull it back to where it should be, look how long it is. Yap sole would be really thin. Okay, so when you're correcting it, you got to pay attention, because usually if this is like this, the toe has done the same. You understand? It's out here too. Okay? So as the foot is correcting and coming back, you're relieving and trimming this off. So you got to give it room here to start moving back, and you got to start trimming it off as it comes back. Do you see that? A lot of times too, what'll happen when this is like this is, if this is growing here, here's another thing that happens. It'll start pushing this part of the hairline back this way. I've seen some horses in the pictures that were shared where you have this going on. Not only is this pushing up here, okay, but because it's not getting trimmed correctly and corrected, so it'll start coming back and down, okay, it is actually pushing this part of the hairline back up that way. See, now can you see how this would create a mechanical situation that might lead to something like laminitis? You know? Okay. All right. So I've explained about the horn tubules. Now we also need to talk about the intertubular horn. Now this foot has a grid that you can read. Now you cannot just cut the foot to match the grid that it should have. You have to grow it that way, but you can learn to read the grid. We're going to talk about intertubular horn, what I call growth rings. And the reason that I call it growth rings is because the intertubular horn, remember, we see vertical horn tubules. We can read those. Okay, but now you can barely see it on there, but see the rings on Molly's hoof here? That is the growth rings, or what is caused by the intertubular horn. Now, the growth ring, an intertubular horn, will be the same shape as whatever the coronary band is. I'm not talking about this part. I'm talking about from here back. You see that? It's going to be the same. It's going to grow like this. Forward. It grows slightly forward like this. And so your growth ring, you'll see a full growth ring from here all the way around the foot. And then you'll see this is about the width, maybe a little more. Growth ring there. You'll see a growth ring there. And then you'll see them start to get like this. See? So these will tell you a lot. First of all, they're going to tell you if your hoof capsule is growing correctly or if you have the heels trimmed out. Because a lot of times as the heels are trimmed out, most of the time, it pulls this part of the coronary band down. And so what you're going to see in a horse is, instead of having nice, even growth rings, like so, okay, you're going to see them go whoop, like that. You're going to see that ring go down like that. See? Because look, hoof wall grows from right here, right? This is all cartilage. So if this is pulled down, it's gonna make the hoof wall go like that, and you'll see a horse that has rings like this. Okay? Now, another thing that happens is that this coronary band here, okay, I want you to see it move so you can understand more about hoof wall jamming. See it? So let's say your pillars here are too weighted and they're wrong. It's going to shove this coronary band up like that. Okay? Now, it shouldn't be shaped like that. All relaxed here. See if I can get it. Okay, see, this would be the natural shape. And so that would be the shape your hoof capsule should be too. Okay, see how it kind of goes down like that, and then you're up like that? That's the way your hoof capsule should also be shaped. But if this gets too long or weighted or whatever, it can push up like so. Even more than that. I mean, it can really get jammed up there. Okay, and then it's going to cut off circulation too, because the coronary band groove here of the hoof capsule going to really push that up like so. Even that could be painful. Think about it. That would be like an ingrown toenail. You know, that's why we try and grow the hoof capsule in such a way. So Molly's feet, I really trimmed the heels out of everything for several years, not meaning to, of course. And you see this coronary band here? See how it dips down like that? It's not supposed to do that. It is not supposed to go down like that. Okay, that is from trimming out the heels. Now, here's the thing. These people that do anatomy, most of the time, the feet they get have been distorted. Okay? And so they think it's supposed to be that way. That's why they drew pictures of them that way and take pictures. And that's why, like you have the whole equine podiatry thing, they think the foot is supposed to be like that. That this is supposed to curl down and under. And so they do this thing called dynamic arch theory thing. Because, see, a lot of times, too, if this is pulled down, it will seem to put an arch right here. See, doesn't that just make sense? If you bend this, it's going to arch up, right? Including right here in the hairline. Well, look, you can see this. See where the coronary band has gotten very thin right here? That is from this being pulled down and under. Now, I cannot show you on here a picture of the perfect specimen. I can tell you where it's at. All right? Because of copyright law. I don't want to have to deal with that on this webinar or anything like that. I don't want to have to post, whatever it is, use because of the common good or whatever. So I'm going to have to show you. But, so Pete Ramey on his site. Now, this is ironic. All right. Yeah, if you've watched some of my videos and seen some of my posts, you know that I use a picture of a dissection he did of a wild horse where he's got it setting on half the hoof capsule with it trimmed out. And you can see the heel buttress, how the heel buttress is supporting the back of the foot, and the sole is like that thick. Now that is a anatomically perfect hoof capsule and foot. Not every horse, not every wild horse even has that. Okay, so that foot has taught me more than anything else. What I can do is I can show you this. See, I have put this on here. Okay, the coronary band should go straight back. Okay, it should not be dipped down. You see how that pulls down like that? Shouldn't be like that. The buttress supports that thing perfectly up in the air there. See that? That buttress, that big piece of triangular shaped pillar that supports the wall and the bar and the back of the sole of the heel. Okay, that is the way this is supposed to be. So your hoof wall grows, the growth rings are going to be uniform like this. See? Okay, so this is how you can tell your heels are trimmed out. Now, what happens when you trim the heel out is it starts to pull this down. All this down. See? Pulls all this down. Now, this is attached to the other part of your foot. Remember, I told you the foot is not just what you see under the hoof capsule. Okay, it's this cartilage up here too, right? So when all this starts to get pulled down, it pulls that cartilage down too. And you'll see it in x-rays. Look like that. Okay, now see what you need to look up is wild horse hoof x-ray and see that x-ray, one of them wild horse feet that Pete Ramey got in California. See, he's got two wild horse feet that I studied and studied and studied to try and understand what is the true foot. Is this the true foot? No, it's not. Because she had her heels trimmed out for so long that this cartilage is bent down. Now, if I were to take this part of the hoof capsule up and kind of heat the foot up, it might come back a little bit, you know. And if I would have restored her heels and they had time to push up and hold that up, it might have straightened all this out a little more. See, but once the cartilage is bent down and held there for years, you know, it takes a little bit to restore what you have messed up. So do you understand this thing about this coronary band grows the wall, right? Okay, so let's straighten this out again. So your wall grows like this from the coronary band. See, Get it? Okay, so if you trim the heel out, or let's say the heels grow long and collapse forward, either way, it creates a similar effect, okay? Then it pulls this hairline down, like that. Well, your wall was growing this way, but when it pulls the hairline down, now it's growing like this. See there? Let's see. Straighten it up, it grows like this. Pull the hairline down, it grows like that. Okay, and we will see as we go on, we're going to see where your rings are pulled down like this. Okay, while I got this foot here, I'm going to show you this foot when it was fresh. Okay, now the coffin bone is right here. On this foot, what I did was I cut out the lamina and I cut out the sole corium to show that the coffin bone does not set within the foot flat. The sole corium is thicker, gets thicker in the heel and thinner up here to the toe. And so the foot itself will sit flat, okay? But the coffin bone is set at an angle within the foot. The error that they teach and how they do that. Now, how did somebody come up with the 30-degree hairline and cutting the heels out? Okay, well, if you take a coffin bone and you just throw it on a table. And then you take, let's see, you take yourself a little angle finder here. Where are we at? Now this is the back foot. Let's see what that is. Okay, well on this one it's 50. Okay, this is a back foot. That's 50. Okay, now, and then I go like this. See? That's going to give me about a 45 degree angle, though I can't do it with this. 45 for a back foot, 50, a 30 degree hairline. Sorry, I'm getting all screwed up. Okay, 30 degree hairline and say a 45 degree dorsal wall. Okay, the way they get that is by taking the bone out of the foot, setting it there. Remember I told you they don't see a foot. They just see this capsule here with the bone in it. But they'll talk about the lateral cartilage and the digital cushion, but this is what they see right here. Okay? Okay, once you remove everything, it's not the foot anymore. So if I try and force this horse to have a 45 degree angle hairline here, I'm going to naturally cut the heels right out of the horse. All right. And that is going to make, from that point on, the hoof wall is all going to be at an angle that is contrary to the inner foot. Okay. Do you see why you need to understand this before you ever do the mapping? That you have to understand what the foot should be so that then you can judge where the foot is, and then you can tell where you have to go to get there. See, you got to know what the goal is. You have to know what a truly correct foot is before you can trim correctly, because you have got to chart a course. Hoof mapping is just that. It is a map that is helping you chart a course to where you want to go with that foot.